David had always been a bit of a loner, so when he moved into his new apartment, he was excited to start his new life. He had saved up for years to afford the down payment on the apartment. The apartment was modest, but it was his own space, and he was looking forward to having a place to call his own. As he walked around the apartment, he noticed that the closet in his bedroom seemed a bit off. It was bigger than he had expected, and seemed to have a strange energy about it. However, he dismissed it as his imagination and got to work settling in. David spent the first day unpacking his belongings and arranging them in the way he wanted. He had always been a bit of a perfectionist, and he wanted everything to be just right. He hung his clothes in the closet, and as he did, he couldn't help but feel like there was something strange about it. He shook off the feeling and went to bed, eager to start his new life in his new apartment. The first night in his new apartment, David woke up in the middle of the night to strange noises coming from the closet. At first, he thought it was just the building settling, but the noises continued, and he started to feel uneasy. He got out of bed and walked over to the closet, listening carefully. The noises were coming from inside, but he couldn't tell what was making them. He tried to ignore it and went back to bed. Over the next few nights, David started having vivid nightmares about a monster lurking in the closet. The nightmares were so realistic that he could feel the monster's breath on his face. He would wake up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding in his chest. He tried to ignore the dreams, but the feeling of being watched never went away, even when he was alone in his apartment. As the days passed, the strange occurrences only increased. David started to feel like he was being watched all the time, even when he was alone in his apartment. He would often hear the same noises coming from the closet at night, and it was as if the monster was trying to communicate with him. David started to avoid the closet altogether, but the strange noises and eerie feeling never disappeared. He tried to focus on work and other activities, but the feeling of being watched never went away. He felt like he was going crazy. Eventually, David couldn't take it anymore. He started to investigate the closet, looking for any signs of the monster's existence. He spent hours at a time just staring at the closet, waiting for something to happen. He would wake up in the middle of the night and walk over to the closet, hoping to catch a glimpse of the monster. David's obsession with the closet started to take a toll on him. He stopped going to work, stopped eating regularly. He became pale and gaunt, and his friends and family started to worry about him. But David didn't care. All he wanted was to know what was inside the closet. David started to feel like the monster was watching him, even when he was outside of the apartment. He would see shadows out of the corner of his eye and hear strange noises all around him. His friends and family noticed that he was acting strange and distant. They tried to talk to him, but he would only talk about the monster and the closet. His behavior and obsession with the closet started to worry them. David's investigation of the closet only fueled his obsession. He would spend hours at a time looking for any signs of the monster's existence. He started to keep a journal of his findings, documenting every noise and strange occurrence in the apartment. The closet became the center of his universe, and he couldn't think about anything else. One day, while he was investigating the closet, he found claw marks on the inside of the closet door. They were deep and jagged, as if they had been made by a large animal. David was terrified, but he couldn't stop himself from investigating. He became convinced that the monster was real, and that it was only a matter of time before it attacked him. David started to become paranoid, and he would often see shadows out of the corner of his eye. He started to feel like he was being followed wherever he went. He would hear strange noises all around him, and he would see things that weren't there. His obsession with the closet and the monster inside was taking over his life. One night, David decided to confront the monster and opened the closet door. The monster was revealed to be a terrifying creature with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. David was scared, but he tried to fight back. He grabbed a nearby lamp and swung it, but it was too strong. The monster broke free from the closet and escaped into the apartment. David was shaken to his core. He realized that he had made a terrible mistake by confronting the monster. He should have left it alone and called for help, but it was too late now. The monster was loose in his apartment, and he had no idea where it was or what it was going to do. David tried to call for help, but his phone wasn't working. He was trapped in his apartment, alone with the monster. He knew that he had to find a way to escape, but he didn't know how. He searched the apartment for a weapon, but all he could find was a kitchen knife. As he walked through the apartment, he could hear the monster moving around. It was as if it was toying with him, trying to scare him even more. David tried to stay calm and focused, but he was terrified. Suddenly, he heard a loud crash coming from the living room. He ran over to investigate and saw that the monster had knocked over a bookshelf. Books and papers were scattered all over the floor, and the monster was nowhere to be seen. David knew that he had to get out of the apartment before it was too late. He grabbed his keys and ran for the door. As he opened it, he saw the monster standing in front of him, blocking his way out. David was trapped. He had nowhere to run and no way to defend himself. The monster lunged at him, and David closed his eyes, waiting for the inevitable. Days later, David's body was found in his apartment, torn apart by an unknown creature. The closet door was found open, and claw marks covered the walls. No one knew what had happened to David, or what the monster in the closet really was. The police investigation was inconclusive, and the case was closed due to lack of evidence. The new tenants of the apartment reported strange noises coming from the closet at night. Some claimed to have seen a shadowy figure lurking in the closet. Rumors spread about the monster in the closet, and people started to avoid the building altogether. The apartment became known as one of the most haunted places in the city. The rumors about the monster in the closet only increased over time. Some people believed that it was a demon that had been summoned by David, while others believed that it was a creature that had always been there, waiting for its next victim. Either way, the apartment remained a place of fear and dread, and the monster in the closet continued to haunt the building long after David's death. In the end, the mystery of the monster in the closet was never solved. The apartment was eventually abandoned and left to decay. However, The legend of the monster in the closet lives on, and people still talk about it to this day. The story ends with a sense of foreboding, as if the monster in the closet is still out there, waiting for its next victim. As the years went by, the legend of the monster in the closet only grew. People would come from all over the world to see the apartment and hear the stories. Some claimed to have seen the monster themselves, while others dismissed it as just another urban legend. The building became a tourist attraction, and people would sometimes sneak in at night to try and catch a glimpse of the monster. However, no one ever saw it again. The monster in the closet had disappeared, but the legend lived on. Years later, a man who had worked at the building as a security guard came forward with a story. He claimed that he had seen the monster in the closet, and that it was more terrifying than anyone could have imagined. He said that it was a creature from another dimension, and that it had come to our world through a portal in the closet. The man's story only added to the legend of the monster in the closet. Some people believed him, while others dismissed it as just another tall tale. But the mystery of the monster in the closet remained unsolved, and it continued to haunt the building long after it had been abandoned. In the end, the monster in the closet became a symbol of fear and dread, a cautionary tale about the dangers of curiosity and obsession. People would tell the story to their children, warning them not to open doors that should remain closed. And the monster in the closet remained a legend, a reminder that there are some things in this world that we are better off not knowing.